Takuri Garvode, and welcome to Cassus Café. Today I am here with Captain.
Hello.
And Tykoth. And Kli'nah.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about episode 4 of Ahsoka. This was a quite a wild episode, and just sets up for an even wilder one next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would agree.
Yeah.
Boy, really optimistic there. Okay, love it.
It's wild. Whether that's good or bad, we will see. So, what are our initial thoughts on this episode? We'll go Captain first.
Should have ended in the first 5 minutes based off the previous episodes. Just saying.
Wait, say that again?
Should have been over in 5 minutes based off what was established in the previous episodes.
Okay.
You'll have to elaborate on that later, I guess.
I will.
All right.
Feisty. ready to come out swinging.
All right, go ahead, Tykoth.
Yeah, I feel overall like maybe my expectations were a little lower because I've kind of been set it, but this is my favorite episode so far. Really like just about everything about it. And I'm interested to get into the controversial stuff later because that will be the hot button. So yeah, love it.
Interesting. All right, Kli'nah.
I definitely like this one better than other episodes too, because Ankin knows I was cheering certain events on during this episode.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, I think this one is so far the best episode out of the 4 that we've gotten so far.
I didn't expect you to say that. Okay.
I don't even remember what last episode's about.
Also worth noting, we are halfway through after this already.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of nuts.
Getting to the climax part.
So, how do we want to do this? Do we want to go scene by scene, or do we want to hit the major points? Because overall, I think this episode, there's a lot that happens. It's a kind of short episode, but it's another one that just crams a lot into it. There's a lot of action.
You
fast paced.
You kind of have a continuous action scene throughout the whole thing, and then the ending.
Yeah.
Probably best you start from the beginning.
Sort of blurs together.
Okay.
The beginning felt really slow.
Yeah, I mean but most of these episodes, the beginnings have been a little slow, but once it picks up, it picks up.
Not in a bad way, but just like I'm ready for stuff to actually start happening kind of way.
We get more in the beginning between the two Sithy characters in general, and that's more interesting. And so it's like a little bit less of the other two than it has been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because it's focusing not quite as much on Ahsoka and Sabine's like relationship, as sad as that is, maybe that's a little stronger because of it.
Well, I mean, it kind of does. The first scenes we get are Sabine and Ahsoka. Like, Ahsoka's trying to be like, the enemy has the map.
Yeah.
So we should probably destroy it and hope, make sure they don't get it, And Sabine's like, I don't know about that.
You know what? It's also Bean's fault that they have the map anyway. So, screw Sabine in this.
It just felt kind of quick overall. Like it's maybe
in
less
case
than
you
10...
haven't watched the previous 3 episodes, this is what's going on.
It's less than 10 minutes maybe before things start kind of heating up. So it's just that's a lot less than previous episodes. So maybe it felt pretty breezed over to me in a good way.
Yeah, it's maybe we'll have to, destroy the map to keep the bad guys from getting there. And that little kind of tension between them I thought was good. And it set up what happens later, obviously.
Right.
Everything is Sabine's fault. She's the one who let them get the map.
Maybe there's a little bit of me too that just loves this setting already. And so it's just really pretty, so that sucked me in a little more too. Just very gorgeous setting.
Yeah, this planet's really, really nice. So yeah, the Sith characters in this episode in general are just freaking awesome.
Top tier. They are. I think I watched a couple other people talk about it and how they're the best characters too. Yeah. Man, they're good. They are so enthralling the whole time.
I don't disagree.
Something this show is doing that Star Wars has been doing for ever since its beginning, is making the bad guys look cooler than the good guys. You know?
Completely.
Yeah.
And I like and typically Star Wars has a little more of just a villain trope, like they're bad to be bad. Obviously Anakin famously is a more complex one, but this one they're making him more complex than that too. They really don't feel all evil for just the sake of being evil. I don't quite understand their motivations yet, but I can tell that there's deeper ones that exist.
Yeah, it's like
we just don't understand it yet.
It just hasn't been revealed to you what their motivations are.
Yeah,
but I can tell it's not just to be bad. There's some sort of a code there, and especially I love what he does later in the episode that we'll get to. Really shows that he has this moral compass to him. Very interesting.
Yeah,
I have a feeling I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we go through. There's more Sabine and Ahsoka stuff where she's like getting suited up, and then we cut to Hu Yang. And at first I was like, Hu Yang doesn't seem like the kind of droid that would be able to fight off somebody, but then you remember he is a Jedi training droid, so he would probably have some kind of combat capability. So I thought that was fun to see him go up against an HK.
Yeah.
Really should have not even gone to this point is what I had an issue with.
So what okay, explain, because I don't understand. I don't understand.
Going back to the beginning, when Ahsoka was fighting the HK droids, and then when they lose, they thermo-detonate the place. Why even confront them? Why not just hide in the trees, encircle them with maybe a dozen of them, and just blow up? Problem solved.
Yeah. Okay.
Episode over.
That was a problem I
guess...
knew would happen just because of the first episode.
But they can't blow up the area because they blow up the map then.
Yeah, because they're close enough, probably, to the nuke radius.
I feel like they're pretty.
But the point is that they said 12 clicks out. I don't know how much that is.
Whatever that means. It's clicks are a. I think clicks is a British term. I can't remember.
It's a wazzy. It's a woozy. It's a fairy dust.
The point is that they've established that you can have HK droids with mini nukes in them, so why even alert them that you know where they are when you could just detonate the place and be done with them?
It's true.
That's what I mean. It should have been over in 5 minutes.
I also really enjoyed the whole Sabine in her Mando armor shooting everyone.
This was the first time we get it, which was cool. Like the full thing in action. It looks good. I think maybe because it's like a little bit darkly lit, it doesn't look as Power Ranger-y to me. Also, I've commented every episode, I feel like the Leica are less distracting this time, maybe because it's a little darker. I don't know, but I felt like everything looked more polished here.
Yeah, I think in these fight scenes with Ahsoka, her Leica definitely look better. They look closer to how we see Shakti.
Yeah.
They're much more nimble and kind of flying around like they should be.
Yeah. And even though the fight, well, I guess I'm getting ahead too, but I like these fight scenes a lot.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they have a lot more weight to them than the previous 3 episodes.
Even
though they're not like prequel fast or anything like that. I know people like to talk about that. But they're still more interesting than the last few.
For sure.
I mean, are we to the part where she defeats our mask foe? Is that fair? Next bit?
We have any...
I mean, I'm kind of scrolling through. We've got Balin and them starting up the map,
which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the whole set of the map thing. It looks really neat, especially later on when she faces him. But it's a neat little placement.
Yeah. Okay. So the next big fight scene is between Ahsoka and Sabine with the 2 Sith peeps. And Shin is freaking just awesome.
She's so good. She's so good. I like how they end that fight too. I'm glad that it's not like magically like Sabine just gets better and she starts recognizing her. Like, no, she still
uses
sucks.
her Yeah.
She's maybe like 5 to 10% better at
Wait,
fighting this time. At
When
most.
they split up, I went, no, don't. The droid just told you not to do that. But you did.
Yeah.
But then at the
And-
same time, when I see both of them side by side, I'm like, yeah, Sabine would get maybe even more wrecked. So it's probably good you took that one.
Well, as soon as
Yeah.
Ahsoka defeated Masked Person, she should have come in and
Yeah,
helped
she should
Sabine.
have. She teamed up.
So this masked person, his name is Merrick, but obviously we don't know what the heck he is.
It wasn't Starkiller.
It wasn't Starkiller, and it's
Yeah.
funny because Josh from Den of Nerds was given this leak before the episode that it was this kind of a smoke thing, and it turned out to be true. So he gets killed, and smoke like explodes out of his chest, and he kind of just drops, and. So
That's
we
probably my
don't know
least favorite thing about this episode in
Yeah,
general.
I mean, I don't mind it. It kind of adds more mystery to what the heck he was. Like, he could be maybe a Night Sister animation, maybe
Yeah.
of a suit or something, or
So potentially there could even be more. It could be like a possessed sort of
Mhm.
thing.
yeah. I mean,
Which could be-
it's
which could be
it's not
interesting.
it's not very clear.
Maybe this is a temporary death of that thing. Like that armor is all that really died, and it's spirit
Maybe they could
leaking out or
reanimate
whatever.
it later or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that it adds an aura of like,
I
Huh.
did find myself questioning why Ahsoka was fighting that particular person and Sabine was fighting the Sith apprentice, because I know you're probably thinking apprentice versus apprentice, but the thing is, the masked person is not even that level. He's using
Not even a person.
he's using a Sith Inquisitor blade, which would tell you that he's got even more limited capabilities than the apprentice would. So I actually was sitting here going, especially when he started doing the twirly thing, I'm like, Ahsoka, you should beat the snot out of him. I've seen you do it in Rebels when you were outnumbered 2-1. And sure enough, she did split him. I was like, well, about time there's some sense in here. But I think she should have.
yeah. I think she
Oh,
wrapped
yeah.
him enough.
But I was like,
I think it's because they're kind of like going full circle again, or rematches again, because Ahsoka was fighting the Inquisitor guy on Corellia. Sabine had fought Shin when she got stabbed, so it's just
which
kind
is
of
all the more
natural
reason
thing.
why you should go
Which
help
they still
Sabine
Yeah,
once you
exactly.
beat the snot out of him.
Yeah, and even the droid at the beginning said, "Don't separate. You guys need to stay together."
Yep.
So I'm like, I wonder how this episode would have ended differently if Ahsoka would have just stayed and helped, kill this Sith chick, and then they go together to get the map,
But they would have won.
rather
Oh,
than separating.
I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as he said that lying, I was like, well, now
Yeah,
they're
they're gonna
That's
get
what
split up
they're
at some point. Yeah.
So that's it's just a classic American writing.
So I've got the screenshot of the smoke coming out of the Inquisitor popped up, and the smoke is green. It's
Yeah.
got a green tint
I
to
remember
it.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's probably some kind of Night Sister witchy magic voodoo.
It's Baby Yoda spirit.
That's how they tie it in. Baby Yoda is
she
everything.
she cuts him open and Baby Yoda pops out.
And Shin kind of looked scared there for a second, like maybe Ahsoka will come and help Sabine, but then they split up, and then she's like,
Yeah.
"You're gonna regret that,"
Yeah.
and she does.
I also like how,
I didn't.
well, at one point, Sabine gets blasted by the Force, and I was like, about time. Yeah.
Against the tree, yeah.
I'm surprised the Sith chick hasn't figured this out by now. Of course, conveniently, she loses her pistols and her helmet. I'm okay with the pistols. I mean, that makes sense. What kind of crappy helmet are you
Uh-oh,
wearing?
there
I
you go.
thought this thing was supposed to be like vacuum sealed. Are you telling me just to knock on the tree and it falls
I-
off?
Yeah,
That's kind of
I
stupid.
agree. 100%.
yeah, Kli'nah thought the same thing. I was like, Yeah, it probably should have stayed on.
They
but
wanted to do it because
whatever.
either A, they wanted to show her face again already. I was like, man, she had her helmet on, what, 5 minutes and it's already off? Or,
But how else are you gonna get those sweet complementary colors of purple and green?
yeah, that's
together?
why I feel like it was done for a cinematic choice, not for logical. Like,
Yeah.
to me, her getting knocked
Yeah.
her guns out made sense because going against a Force user, blasters don't work with them usually. You have to be really, really good. I think Django, is the only one that came to my mind where he actually killed a Force user with his pistol. And like in episode 2, when that one guy makes his way up to where Dooku is, and he actually manages to kill the lightsaber user.
He does his fancy little twirl.
Exactly. That's the only scene that's currently coming to my mind where somebody was able to like flat out beat somebody easily with a blaster pistol against a Jedi. But most of the time that doesn't work well, and I would have figured Sabine would be smart enough to go, after shooting maybe 100 shots at this person and missing, or getting deflected, probably going to have to use the lightsaber, but who do I know?
Yeah. So they split up, and we get the Ahsoka Baylan fight, and this fight was my favorite one in the episode.
I was disappointed with it.
Dude, this was my most favorite lightsaber fight since the prequels for me.
Really?
Yes.
First off, the setting of it looks so cool.
The setting is cool.
The map circling around them, the lines
Yeah.
moving. Yeah.
So why I like it is because Baylan is this giant hulk of a man, and he's like still doing these crazy, awesome acrobatic stuff. The choreography is on point. These stances that they're in, and the slow showdown between them is very samurai. The stances they're using are real samurai stances.
I was actually going to make that comment earlier too,
Yeah.
even when she's taking out the previous guard. Everything in this feels a lot more samurai-esque. Yeah.
Yeah, so when she's like holding her sword back and they're pacing each other, he's got his sword held up. It's all real samurai stances, samurai swordplay stuff. The choreography with fighting each other isn't very, but the stances they're using are.
And he looks cool. His outfit is awesome.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I see Baylan here. He never takes one hand off of his lightsaber ever, and that feels really stiff to me. And the way he moves it, you can even see his own body moving with it. That's why I feel like this feels baseball batty to me. I will agree with you. It is better than previous Disney Star Wars. 100% agree. But in the fight with Baylan and Ahsoka, to me, it really showed. To me, I was let down with the fight just because it felt like he was swinging a greatsword, but what he was actually shown on screen to be holding was nothing like that. It just felt inconsistent to me.
I just want to throw in one super quick rebuttal. Like, I feel like what I took from this when Ahsoka was fighting in a different form, I think this was actually a character thing, and she's being a little arrogant here, and she's like matching him on his terms. She sees his and she like matches it kind of. And he is stronger like physically, and his style, like she can't block what he's throwing because he just has too much weight behind him. And she's just like not that strong, and I think it's maybe like overconfidence in herself because she's never found anybody she can't take until now.
She fought Vader.
And she's realizing that.
She fought Vader.
What? Well, yeah, but that's quite a while ago. She hasn't encountered anybody. Yeah.
So.
And she lost. So she's just like these weighty characters she can't quite handle yet. She's fast, but she can't take them.
So that's basically like all the way through this middle section is that lightsaber fight.
Yeah, it's kind of Sabine's thing next.
Yeah, and then Sabine, she gets kind of pushed down, and she tries to use the Force, and she's like,
"You don't have powers."
You use the Force.
What took you so long?
It was kind of interesting though when she did throw her hand up that she like Shin kind of turned like she had been hit, but then
It's
Like a
probably
natural
like
reflex.
it goes back to like the whole like force barrier guys fighting other force users, so she wasn't expecting it. Probably did some sort of shield maneuver, and then went, "Wait a minute, you don't have powers." And I went, "Out time."
No duh.
I was like, "You're gonna force choke her now, right?"
yeah.
Proceeds to throw a smoke bomb and run away. Confused.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I mean, she could have just force pulled her lightsaber to her and just yoked Sabine. So I don't understand why she didn't just end her there.
Yeah.
That
Suffer a
is
little
one.
more.
That is one thing that I was like,
You gotta make her suffer a little more.
yeah,
She
but
can't die yet. We need her
But
later
either way,
that is
it
for the plot.
weird.
either way, like this is that part I was talking about with Balin earlier, and I'm sure you knew what I was talking about, Captain. But yeah, how he gives her an ultimatum, and he keeps his word, and it's like not a very villain thing to
He's
do.
what you call
And
like.
I love that.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like a Count Dooku, like because Count Dooku had class, right? That was the whole thing about him. You know, and I'm all for this
Yeah.
kind of bad guy, right? And I like how he was like telling the apprentice to stop choking her, which I don't know why now does she finally start wanting to choke Sabine. I'm like, should have done this earlier. But
we're kind of skipping over Balin yeeting Ahsoka off the cliff.
Yeah, the best part. I was like, yes, do it, do it, and then he did it. And
I was
so
like,
happy.
whatever.
Oh, you're one sadistic person. No,
Dude,
I like.
I would not have been upset if Sabine died as well, and I would not have been sad if the other Sith girl died as well.
What?
No, you get out of here.
No.
No,
I would be happy if they all just died.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay. Wow. we got to a weird place.
Yeah, like what's happening with the story now? Everyone's dead.
Anakin can attest to the fact that I was cheering on these bad guys during this scene, cheering them on to kill.
No, I like that she's so perfect all the time. I like that she lost. It is cool.
Yeah.
Empire is my favorite movie as it is most people, and it's because they all lose, and I think that's
I
weird
like it
thing to
because
do,
of
and
the
it's awesome.
AT-ATs.
So,
That's why
I like it
Empire,
anytime good
but, you know,
guys
I'm the
lose.
weirdo.
I kind of like that Sabine also decided to help the bad guys because it kind of makes sense because she's dumb, very dumb, very, very dumb in this show at least. She makes terrible choices.
Everyone makes terrible choices.
All
in the
revolving
Disney
this
show.
map.
That's how it works.
I
I like
it.
this choice.
I liked it too. I was like, she's gonna hand it over because I like just the ambiguity of it, the grayness of it. She's doing it because she needs to see Ezra again. She needs to save Ezra, and she doesn't really fully understand the grasp of the situation. I think, like,
And
if
and she's selfish, like we all
She could
can.
probably be reasoning to herself,
Yeah,
well,
I like
if
it.
they both disappeared, who's to say Ezra didn't kill Thrawn, you know? We know that's
Okay.
not true.
Also, who's to believe that
Yeah.
Ezra's even alive? Who knows? Ezra could be dead, you idiot.
I think Ezra's dark side.
I really don't
Or
care at this
you'd be
point.
evil.
I just, I put myself in the shoes and think if this was my significant other, what would I do? And in the moment, I probably am thinking selfishly about my own feelings, and I'm probably not thinking about others.
Me and Anne can ask each other this. If one of us had done something 10 years ago that transported us to another dimension with some bad guy, and we had the opportunity to save or to like go and see if the other person was still alive, but if you did, you would basically start another world war, and we both decided that we would not go. Because it's been 10 years and there's a stronger possibility that the big bad won and killed you because the big bad has more than just one person there, you know?
See, for
Like-
me, and maybe I'm a villain here, but I just think there's gonna be a world war at some point. Like we're terrible race, so like it's inevitable. So we may as well just like do it over somebody that makes me happy.
I wouldn't even have a second.
But you're doing it. You're not even doing it because you know they're still alive. There's a high chance that they're not even alive. I mean, this is Star Wars, so obviously he's alive.
If I was in,
Probably. But like in reality,
I love the tangents we're going down right now. This is so deep. We're getting into like philosophy questions.
Go ahead, Cap.
if I was in Sabine's, I would be like, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he make me think twice? Honestly.
Nah. Well, also she's like, I'll shoot it. Oh, don't test me. I'll shoot it. Oh, you tested me. You killed my master, basically. But you don't do it again. I'll shoot it. She just never shoots it.
The master I wasn't getting along with, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is like textbook turn to the dark side sort of stuff.
Well, then she could be
So
with
she was
Ezra
taken
then.
prisoner after. Yeah.
If Ezra's already turned, then she could turn with and be with him. That'd be happy.
Even though it's been done to death, I always am a sucker for like someone turning to the dark side too. So kind of fun. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah. And Balin's such a cool guy. Like, who can't say yes to that?
Yeah,
dude?
I mean, if you're gonna turn to the dark side, you
Bastila.
gotta turn to the dark side for him.
I'm a Bastila stand for life, so you know whatever.
The dark
Oh,
side
yeah.
has cookies. I mean, you can't say no to it.
Dark
Like
chocolate chip.
I disagree with both sides, but if I had to choose one, yeah, probably going dark.
Yeah, I mean, and then they get the map, they download it, and he's like, all right, no one's following us now, and then he does zap the map.
And I went, why? You moron.
Because so no one can follow them. They already have the
Take
coordinates
the
from the
map
computer.
Yeah,
with
it's
you.
wise, to be
Take-
honest.
But if they have the map, then they have the possibility of have it stolen from them.
If they're in the
Yeah,
other
I
galaxy,
agree.
who's
I
going
think
to
it was
steal
wise.
it?
Sabine.
Ahsoka, when she's not dead.
Yeah,
because
when
of
she
Star
gets
Wars.
rezzed, she gets rezzed.
If you
by-
take the map with you and you then go to the other galaxy, no one can follow you. That's all I'm saying. And I hate that. I hate this decision.
Maybe Ezra's alive over there, and he'll snatch it up and he'll give it to the space whales to bring it back to Ahsoka.
I understand wanting to make sure there's no possibilities that anyone can like locate them, track them, anything. Even like taking it with them, sure they might not be able to track them, but if they have Sabine over there and possibly Ezra, who may or may not be Darkseid, so they could escape, they could take the map, they could be able to decipher it again somehow, or steal it, smuggle it, whatever, back to their galaxy.
I would like
So,
want
I mean-
a little bit of assurance to be able to get back, you know, just in case something goes wrong with your current ship, you know, and if by some miracle you're able to make another one to get back, you're not going to have any way of getting back because you've lost the records from the previous ship. So I think it was incredibly short-sighted. I'm also sad because we saw that there was other galaxies, and now they've just ruined the chance to have things in other
Oh,
galaxies.
trust me, there's gonna be another map somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Disney. It's maps to people.
Don't worry, there is a way to get there.
All right. I thought that it was a bit of a poor move, but that's just me.
Mm. It does seem like Captain has the least, like the lowest opinion on this episode than all of us, for sure.
Well, then
Yep.
Hera comes with
Or
her
Hera,
son,
she
bringing
she
her
can't-
son into a war zone
she can't get to do
so he
anything
can die
cool.
like his father. I'm kidding. That was uncalled for.
Yeah, cut that out.
Jairus was a great man, you said.
Hey, I didn't know him.
Yeah, she doesn't know who Kanan is at all.
So yeah, she gets in her ship.
Don't diss him. He died for us all.
I thought it was interesting seeing the big, thing go into hyperspace and like completely yeeting some of the fighters.
Wow, way to skip ahead.
I mean, that's the
Sorry,
next
I
scene.
thought we were there.
Well, okay.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
you didn't even
next
talk
episode.
about them jumping, whatever. But okay, so they're there, And this is where I
mean, they
had
go to
another issue. Hey,
Okay.
Oh,
let's move in front of
let's
them
go.
to block them. It's a giant ring, you morons. What do you think you're going to block with? You don't have home one.
So when they were building this, I thought that this thing was like not the ship itself. I thought this was like kind of like a hub where you will end up shooting a spaceship through the
Oh,
circle,
like a work gate.
and then the spaceship goes,
Yeah.
kind of like that. That's what I thought it
Like a
was
Stargate.
before the whole thing started to shoot, and I was like, oh,
No.
that's how it works.
Like some people thought maybe it was an Infinity Gate that they were building, which is another Legends thing that they would have ripped off. But
Yeah.
it's not. It seems like my idea when I first saw it seems to be closer to the case where it's a giant hyperspace ring that may or may not bring Thrawn's like Star Destroyer back with him.
Maybe it can hook on somewhere.
I'm pretty sure that
Yeah, like the ring goes around the Star Destroyer.
my
Maybe.
guess is that when they get there, they'll find Thrawn. 2 arms will come down and latch onto the Star Destroyer, and it will warp it back. Because they have how
Yep.
many Super Star Destroyer reactors on there? A crap ton. Yeah, 7 of them.
Seven.
Of those suckers on there. I mean, that's a lot of power, you know. But that would make sense if you were trying to not only warp to another galaxy, but also to warp a Star Destroyer at the same time. So. But yes, when I heard the idiotic command of block them, I was like, you do realize it's a giant ring. They can just go through you. And that's exactly what happened. And then they lost all but 2 of the fighters, and I was just like, oh, I'm not surprised at all. So, yeah. Again, with the idiotic things I see in Disney Star Wars, I'm just like, what did you... they would have been better off literally just doing an attack run on it. Like, they had it in S-foils in attack position, but she decided to block, and I don't know why. She should have said...
This time we're going on full throttle. That ought to keep those TIE fighters
She
over
should have
back.
just been like, go in, you know? Especially when they said, hey, they're not launching fighters. It's kind of a giveaway, you know? So... yeah, when they finally saw the energy signatures, they're like, that's a lot of energy. I'm like, what do you think's gonna happen, stupid? It's a giant hyper ring.
So, yeah. We've got a few minutes left, and the last few minutes is probably the thing I could talk about the most.
This is where I was...
Are we gonna try to limit it?
I'm gonna try and limit it so we're not going to 2 hours. But this is rough.
Let's just start with, I did not know what this was. Like, I had ideas, but it was not correct.
So I knew what this
because
was.
I haven't seen
At
it.
least I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's that not like that Worlds Between Worlds.
So, yep.
Yes.
World Between Worlds thing. So she essentially died
Again.
and went back to the World Between Worlds.
Which, yes, heck yes, Ahsoka died.
But
it's awesome.
that means she's gonna get rezzed
Again.
as Ahsoka the White and come back. And I'm so over Disney and death not meaning anything.
Yeah. I mean, she could have just fell into a portal. I mean, for all we know, there's one down there.
Can I say why I'm excited?
what I
Because
thought
the
at
rest of
first.
this is gonna be negative from you guys, so I'm just gonna say what I like about it, and then
Yeah,
Don't be
go-
so
go-
sure.
you can
but
rant
okay.
away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks pretty.
I have been desiring, and I know it won't be this, but I have been desiring an hour from Star Wars of just like super deep questions about what it means to exist and get over and change. And like, I just want a full dialogue driven episode of Anakin looking over his past life and re-examining every choice he's ever made. And to have that discussion with somebody like Ahsoka seems really cool.
Oh, I would
Very
love that.
interested in that. That's all I want. Is I don't want anything else other than to happen, other than to like reflect over everything that has happened, and to just have this like very deep emotional connection there. I don't think it's going to happen like that, but the potential for it is so exciting for me that I don't care the reasoning, I don't care the setting. Just to be able to have an opportunity to do that would be incredible, and I hope it's something to that extent.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes, if not an hour.
So I'm gonna.
I must admit, I was happy to see Anakin.
Yeah, I mean, it was neat to see Anakin. I'm excited to see where the next episode goes with all that. Here's
Were you
where
shocked? Were you
things-
shocked a little bit?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
I see.
I
I didn't.
was not prepared to see it.
I was
I-
prepared for a voiceover. I was not prepared to see live action.
I knew because I follow leaks and stuff because Josh from Dev Nerds always reports on the stuff.
You.
So
And I knew he was in
didn't
it, but I didn't know live action.
So he didn't know. He knew Anakin was going to be in the show, but he didn't know to what extent, if we were actually going to see him, or if it was just going to be like a hologram or
Flashback.
Yeah, same.
old recording, a flashback, whatever. So this was neat. He said this was really held close to the chest. Like he didn't even know about this. No one knew about this. So it was a really neat reveal that we actually have Anakin in the flesh, sort of, I guess, in the show. So here's my issues with it. I'm gonna get this.
Now, I'm not sure how
I'm gonna
this
get
works.
the superficial
but yeah.
stuff out of the way. Just his look. It's
Yeah, he
the
did look
lighting and it's the de-aging, I know, but he looks like a corpse. He looks like a walking corpse. He doesn't look anything like Anakin. Like the guy in real life looks better than whatever they did to him.
I will say, I think his hair is kind of funny in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they
hair
tried to
specifically.
weirdly recreate the Revenge of the Sith hair, and I just don't know. The hair's not the big problem with me. The face is the problem.
It looks
when
kind
comes
of
to
strange.
looks.
Sure.
It looks.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's the most uncanny valley I've seen in the de-aging ever. Like I thought Tarkin looked good. I thought the young Leia from Rogue One was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. This is just weirding me out for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand how they could have like nailed
Yeah.
Tarkin so good for what they, obviously he's not even around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really impressed with Tarkin. And I didn't, when I watched Rogue One, I didn't feel like I was like thinking I'm looking at something that was sticking out. Admittedly, I was looking at Tarkin pretty hard because I knew it wasn't the real Tarkin. But I was like, this is really good, I think the only thing that gave it away was that his face was a bit more vibrant compared to episode 4, which kind of made an indication that it was CGI. But yeah, it was livable. Like, then I see Anakin here and I'm kind of like,
And I think Anakin in Obi-Wan looked better than this.
That's
I
because they
agree
didn't
with
really
that.
do anything to him.
Yeah,
in
and
that.
that's what I mean. Like he looks
He just
better
looked-
when they don't do much.
He was just wrinkled.
Yeah, it's like
As
when it,
as
as a
we all do.
flashback, it feels weird. As a flashback, when he's supposed to be young, it's a little weird. But he looked better there than whatever this is, and I hope he looks better in the next episode. I really hope so. But otherwise, that's the superficial stuff.
I don't understand why you couldn't let him look as he is now, because he looks good for his
Yeah,
age.
he looks all right.
And
Looks fine.
this is after he's died anyway, so he can look a little
He
older
can.
if he's still trying to represent
Exactly,
Anakin.
he
So
Yeah,
should look older.
I agree with that they should have just had him at his normal age here.
Yeah.
It makes fine sense. As much sense as Force Ghosts
Okay.
do anyway.
Okay, so to my next point, this kind of feeds into my next point, because now that we've talked about this, I might have changed a little bit on what my next point is. My next point is this a, quote, member berry or not? You know what a member berry is?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so
Is this like Ahsoka just remembered?
a member berry is a term that I guess more so the Disney critiquers have coined than people that support Disney. But a member berry is a term that means they've brought something into the show or the movie or whatever just to pull at your nostalgia of what came before.
Oh, I
Okay.
mean, of course.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
But
like-
you can't not do that.
But like it depends on why they do it. If it's a true member berry for me, like if it's meant to be a really driving point in the plot and it makes sense for the character in the context, then I don't think it's a member berry. However,
I would agree.
an example of a member berry to me is like something like how they used Yoda in The Last Jedi, or they pull in something like, let's see,
They say a quote and you go,
Yeah, like
I
a
remember this.
quote or any subtle thing that harkens back to what came before.
Like every time they do the cantina reference, every
Yeah.
time.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Any kind of thing that they bring in just to be like, oh, you're in Star Wars. Do you feel like you're in Star Wars now? Instead of, doing their own thing, making the
that-
story
making
make
good
sense.
content.
And
Right.
that is an enormous thing in all of movies right now, not just Star Wars too.
Yeah, but
Millennials for some reason are like the cringiest.
That's more of a modern
Yeah.
media thing.
That's
So-
more of
Yeah.
a millennials need to get over nostalgia type of thing.
Yeah, but they do that just because the criticism is they do that to get people to watch their stuff because people aren't watching their stuff as much as they would think or want them to. So they're trying to bring people
Their
back.
statement.
Yeah.
That's why Obi-Wan is one of the most viewed shows too. It's people
Yeah.
have the most memories.
You have Obi-Wan and then you had Hayden Christensen.
So
Yeah.
So initially, I got in a Twitter spat with a fellow EU fan after this episode aired, and we were going back and forth on whether this could be considered a member berry or not. She was like, "It is a member berry. There's no question about it." And I had some kind of like.
I think it's too early to say.
Yeah, I that's one of my points was that I think it's too early because he's there as like a a hook for the next episode, and it was a shock. People watching the show were expecting to see him, really.
Yeah, I was shocked.
So I don't
wasn't expecting to see him
don't
in the show at all.
necessarily think it's a member berry yet. If this is typically nothing and doesn't really forward the plot at all or have any kind of impact on Ahsoka or whatever, then, which is highly doubtful, then it would be probably member berry. It's like Luke showing up at the end of Mando season 2. If that's the last we ever saw him, that could have been a member berry. But we saw him in Book of Boba Fett again, and we've seen him in other Star Wars media.
I kind of think
Again,
Luke is like textbook member berry then.
I actually don't think that because
I think
we're trying to find another Jedi. Well, there's only one other Jedi, supposedly at this time.
Yeah.
That would have been Luke, so it makes
Except
sense
for-
that Luke would have shown up.
Except for every other Jedi.
I think it makes more sense for Luke to show up in this storyline with Thrawn than it did anything Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think if he showed up here in addition to Mandalorian, that would make it a more interesting turn of events. And I love the Luke and Mandalorian. I love it. I think it's great, but it's pure nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
That's the reason they did it.
No, but it also made sense for the story because
Yes.
there was only one other Jedi. He's already talked to Ahsoka, so Luke would be the only one that would answer the call to get Grogu.
And Ahsoka doesn't claim to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Luke would have been the one to answer the call that Grogu put out when he was trying to find a Jedi. So it made sense to me in the story.
But in terms of what
seasons of him finding someone, that
in terms
Luke
of
would
what they
show
did
up.
with that storyline though, they kind of made it okay and approachable and then sort of undid that and made it member berry like retroactively. In
Yeah.
Boba Fett. Like they just sort of like
Yeah.
took that storyline
Well, yes.
and then
Well-
made it not mean anything after that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's Book of Boba Fett's fault. That's not Mando's fault.
Yeah, it's like
That's-
a side
Same-
quest.
Same
Because
showrunners.
Mandalorian set it up correctly. That's the thing.
Mhm.
It's the same production company and showrunners, so same thing to me.
Yeah, but I get
Okay.
where you're coming from. Like,
Yeah.
it could have been something significant, and then they made it not, so it's strictly member berry now.
Yeah.
It's just played for nostalgia now.
Yeah.
So that makes I understand that. This, it's too early to tell, and people
Yeah,
complaining.
you could never make us.
Yeah, I just think
complain. it's one line.
Yeah, my opinion still stands. It's kind of unreasonable to critique this as a member berry and cry foul that they're bringing these characters back for quote no good reason when it could very well be a good reason.
Yes.
So I don't get that argument. I think I don't care for Dave. You know me. I hate the guy. everything he's done in Star Wars.
The billionth time.
I don't hate him.
we
I
know.
don't hate him personally. I can't hate him personally. I just don't like his work. But you can't just critique everything he does because
We don't know the whole.
We don't-
This is more like a movie than an
Look at
actual
you.
television show.
You've grown.
So we really.
You've grown up.
like I'm just
So-
kind of at a
So have
point
you.
where I'm tired
more
of
beautiful, I
people. I'm tired of people just hating on it for the specific reason of hating on it.
Yes.
Like,
I don't hate
understand-
on it just to hate on it.
Yeah.
I have I try to be like, hey, these are the reasons why.
Like every time I go into a Disney show, I go with an open mind, and if I hate it, I hate it. If I don't, then it's enjoyable for the most part. Andor, for me personally, it's not canon. None of this stuff is canon to me, but it's really good. It's super good. It's an amazing Star Wars show. So I don't understand like people thinking things that aren't canon can't be good or enjoyable. That's just my take, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not near that negative
Except on this show so far until now.
until this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll move on from here. We'll take the segue to go to our little end bit where we'll talk about our overall thoughts and ratings of this episode. I'm gonna assume we'll go with Tykoth first. I'm gonna assume this might have saved the series for you.
I wouldn't go that far, but I really like it a lot, but if I think about the reason I like it, it's maybe a little bit more sad for me than the other ones, because I liked it. I'm not the action guy. I like more philosophical. I like more speak things. And this series got better when it stopped talking so much and threw some action at me, and that's kind of disappointing.
It's kind of
To think-
interesting.
To
'Cause I
think
didn't-
about.
Yeah, I didn't think you would like this episode as much because it was just nonstop action and fighting and stuff.
Yeah, and I wouldn't on paper I wouldn't like this episode. But maybe it was just such a nice break because there was so much talking before, but it wasn't like my cup of tea. It didn't feel necessarily deep. It just felt like very plot exposition talking. And so yeah, this was like a pleasant break. I hope that they sort of have both in the future. Especially I have such high hopes for this next episode that are really not going to get crushed. But yeah, I love this episode. Are we doing ratings?
Yeah.
Numbers? All right. I'm gonna give it 8.5.
Oh,
Nice.
close to what I thought you would give it.
That's close to.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking you're gonna give it a 9.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't have put him that high, but yeah. Close to that. All right, Cap.
I am so torn on this episode, and I'll tell you why. I've already talked about the issues I've had with the
Mhm.
episode, right? But overall, I've enjoyed this episode more than the previous ones.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm like Tykoth in a sense here, where previous episodes were I like world building and and storytelling, but we weren't really getting a whole lot of that in these last few episodes for what little was happening. Then we had a lot happen with very little world building, potentially, I guess you could call it, in this episode. But I enjoyed it because it just felt like everything was going at a snail's pace up until now. So when we finally had some fighting, I was like, about time something interesting was happening. So, but I felt like but as I stated, it's definitely the best Disney stuff they've come out with, but still disappointing. And then seeing Anakin at the end definitely threw me for a loop, because you know me, I come in with an open mind like yourself, but I don't want to be influenced by potential leaks. So I try to keep all that out. I've been doing good so far. So I was completely shocked when I saw Anakin there. I was like, what the heck are you doing there? Now I definitely want to come next week, because I'm like, I want to know what you're doing with this. Could be bad, could be good, but I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah, I'm starting to question whether or not I should watch Josh from Den of Nerds, because all his leaks have come true so far.
So last week I gave it a 7.5. I think I'm probably gonna do that again, a 7.5, because I don't think it's worthy of an 8. I just don't think it is. I think that when Franz actually comes into the picture, potentially next week, or what I predicted, which would be episode 6, I'm curious what
I still hold true that it's not going to be till finale.
We'll see. But I'm very curious to see what episode 5 is, and I think Anakin being there, if done correctly, could bring this into that 8, 9, 10 range, potentially. But if done incorrectly, could just put this right at like above average, potentially. So.
Like a 2.
Or, yeah, if they really screw it up, yes, it goes too.
If episode 5 is the bait and switch, and we get nothing really from Anakin,
it could happen. It could happen,
dude.
Oh yeah,
this show's done.
We got that's honestly, I think it's a 50-50 chance whether we even get this next episode or they wait 1 week.
Yeah.
Would not be remotely surprised if it happened. Jerk move, yes, but I've seen it before on Walking Dead. I've seen it just about every season of Walking Dead. So it can happen.
So yeah, 7.5 once again for the score.
Next week we get a chopper side quest.
God,
I mean,
that would be the
that
would be the most annoyed happy I've ever been.
I'd be 100%.
I would be so angry and ecstatic at the same time. I wouldn't know how to feel. I just would be.
I mean, it being Disney, we haven't had an episode of this show where the main character isn't in the episode, so it's bound to happen, right?
It's Pershing. It's a Pershing episode.
All right, Kli'nah.
I'm gonna give it an 8 because I really appreciated being able to see Ahsoka basically die, and then Sabine nearly die, and then her go evil. I thought that was all really great.
We just
That's my
our
favorite
local masochist here.
Yeah. I am also gonna give it an 8. The lightsaber fights were just much more enjoyable than anything I've seen from Disney so far, and the bad guys winning and everything going to crap for the heroes was just really compelling, and it's kind of inevitable for what we know what's gonna come as Thrawn's coming, but it was still really cool to see. And I mean, and Anakin coming back has a lot of potential. I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic there, but I'm probably gonna give it an 8, and we'll see. That could possibly be the highest rating I give any episode in this series.
Can we swap Ahsoka out for Anakin? Like, can she just stay there and Anakin leave and come back alive?
Dude,
Yeah,
many
right?
people would be so mad, so mad at that. I can already hear Star Wars Twitter raging right now.
I think I don't know how I'd feel. Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, Disney's gone beyond ridiculous at my point. Can you at least make me happy now? Like, that would make me happy.
There are so many wild theories out there now that they've entered this world between worlds, and it's like this is not going to erase a timeline here.
Well, now literally anything can happen.
No,
some people are like they're gonna bring Anakin pre-Order 66 back, and he's gonna be awesome and all
Good
this.
Anakin.
He's gonna be good Anakin.
Wow.
Not only is that not going to happen.
Timeline would be more interesting than what the sequels were.
Not only is that not going to happen, that should not happen ever.
Yeah.
Just imagine Luke being like, "Dad, you're alive and quite young."
Yeah, I decided to not slice off Mace Windu's hand. We're actually best buds now.
All right. Well,
but if Mace Windu could come back in that scenario, that'd be.
Did you know how many Mace Windu's pretend fake leaks have been existing?
Yeah.
We'll continue to.
I mean, I'm down, but whatever.
Yeah. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of our Ahsoka review. Please let us know what you thought in the comments, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.